Chapter 51, Eldoria City. He takes a moment to steady himself before walking toward the exit. His private washroom is just a short distance away, and right now a cold shower sounds perfect. Inside the washroom, steam rises as Alex stands under the cascading water, letting it wash away the sweat and tension from his body. The icy temperature shocks his system at first, but after a few moments, it soothes his overworked muscles. Finishing up, he dries himself off and changes into a fresh set of clothes before making his way back to his workspace. Alex enters his private workspace, a room lined with shelves of books, documents, and various magical artifacts. His desk is organized, filled with notes and detailed reports of Shadow's intel about the three kingdoms. Alex leans back in his chair, exhaling. His mind is already shifting to his next task. He focuses for a moment, reaching out with his thoughts. Varkas, if you're ready, come to me now. A brief silence follows before a deep, composed voice replies in his mind. I will be there shortly, Your Majesty. Alex nods to himself. While waiting, he retrieves a small, intricately designed box from his desk drawer. Inside lies an item he hasn't used in a long time, a set of enchanted rings designed to completely alter one's appearance. A short while later, the air shifts, and a familiar presence approaches. The door opens silently, and Varkas steps inside, his imposing form moving with quiet precision. His crimson eyes flicker with curiosity as he bows slightly. You called, Your Majesty? Alex gestures toward the chair across from him. Seat. We're going to the human city. Alex lifting one of the rings from the box. And put this on. We can't exactly stroll in human city looking like this. Varkas straightens, and continue listening. We can't stroll in looking like this, so we need to use these. Alex smirks, lifting one of the rings from the box. Varkas takes a ring and examines it briefly before slipping it onto his finger. The transformation is instantaneous. His armor shifts into elegant noble attire. His eyes turn a deep brown, and his once intimidating features soften into a refined, human knight appearance. Alex puts on his own ring, feeling the magic ripple through his body. His hair darkens to a deep brown, his eyes shift to a dull green, and his regal presence dims into something more unassuming. His usual commanding aura fades, replaced by the air of a noble. Varkas studies him briefly, then nods. This should work. What's our approach, Your Majesty? Alex walks toward the door. We'll discuss that on the way. Let's go. Outside, a sleek, black flying carriage awaits them. Its enchanted wheels hover just above the ground, pulsating with faint blue mana. The two step inside, the doors shutting with a soft click. The interior is luxurious yet subtle. Dark leather seats, a small table, and tinted windows that obscure the view from the outside. As the carriage lifts into the sky, the hum of the mana fills the space with a gentle vibration. Alex settles into his seat and flicks his wrist, summoning a map that unfolds in the air before him. The detailed parchment displays the three major kingdoms, each marked with intricate sigils and landmarks. His finger hovers over one in particular. We're heading to the capital of Ralthian Kingdom, Alex says, his tone thoughtful. Varkas leans forward slightly, studying the map. His brow furrows. Ralthian Kingdom. I'm not familiar with it. Alex glances at him, then nods in understanding. Right? You were revived recently, so you wouldn't know. He taps the map, zooming in on the region. There are three major kingdoms in the human territories. Ralthian is the weakest of the three. Varkas listens in silence as Alex continues, his finger tracing across the map. From the reports I received from the Shadows, Ralthian has been in decline for years. Its economy is struggling, its military is disorganized, and its nobility is fractured by internal conflicts. The only thing keeping it afloat is the fact that the other kingdoms haven't made a move against it yet. He shifts his attention to the two other kingdoms. Ordea, on the other hand, is a merchant kingdom. Trade and wealth are their strengths. They control major trade routes and have connections with various races, which means their economy is stable, if not thriving. Their military power is quite good. Though if a war broke out, they'd rely on mercenaries and hired forces, rather than a standing army. His finger moves again, this time stopping over Valgros. Then there's Valgros, a militaristic state, heavily fortified and always preparing for war. They prioritize strength and conquest over diplomacy. Their forces are disciplined, their leadership is strict, and they're expansionist. Alex leans back, crossing his arms. Our target is Ralphian because it's the easiest to gain influence in. A kingdom in decline means its people are desperate, and desperate people are willing to pay for power. We'll be selling skill books there, and if all goes well, we'll secure a huge amount of gold coins. Varkas remains silent, processing the information. After a moment, he nods. Alex smirks. Just remember, this is a business trip, not a battlefield. No fighting unless absolutely necessary. Varkas scratches the back of his head, sighing. I'll keep that in mind, Your Majesty. The dirt road stretches ahead as the carriage rattles along, the sound of wooden wheels crunching against the path filling the air. Varkas holds the reins, his posture relaxed yet firm as he guides the horses forward. The grand, sleek flying carriage from before is nowhere to be seen. Alex had long since swapped it for a simple, well-worn merchant's carriage, blending in with the countless traders making their way to Eldoria. As they near the city's towering gates, a long line of merchants and travelers comes into view. The guards stationed at the entrance, clad in dull steel armor, move methodically, checking papers and collecting entrance fees. Chapter 52. Auctioning Skill Books. Alex observes quietly from inside the carriage before finally speaking. 1 gold coin just to enter as a merchant. It's a bit steep. Varkas glances at him through the open window. Seems excessive for a kingdom in decline. Alex chuckles lightly. That's exactly why. When a kingdom is struggling, they squeeze whatever they can from those who still have wealth. Varkas doesn't respond, simply steering the carriage forward as the line inches along. Eventually, it's their turn. A guard, his helmet slightly tilted as if it barely fits, steps up and eyes them with practiced indifference. His gaze lingers on the carriage before shifting to Varkas and then to Alex, who sits calmly inside. Merchant entry is 1 gold coin. State your business. The guard says flatly. Alex produces a pouch and pulls out a single gold coin, flipping it toward the man. The guard catches it with a grunt before inspecting it. I deal in rare goods, Alex answers smoothly. Books, artifacts, things that nobles and scholars find useful. The guard raises an eyebrow but doesn't pry further. He steps aside, gesturing toward the gate. You're clear. Next. With a flick of the reins, Varkas guides the carriage into the bustling streets of Eldoria. The city is alive with movement. Market stalls line the roads, traders shout over one another, and the scent of baked bread and roasted meat fills the air. Despite its decline, Eldoria still holds remnants of its former prosperity. Alex leans back slightly, surveying the city through the window. First, we need an inn. Then we will go somewhere. Varkas nods, maneuvering the carriage deeper into the city. They soon arrive at an inn, the most luxurious one Eldoria has to offer. At least, that's what the people claims. Varkas steps down from the carriage first, his sharp eyes scanning the building. The structure is made of aged stone and wood, with a grand entrance and decorative banners hanging from the balcony above. It's well maintained compared to the surrounding buildings, but in his eyes it barely qualifies as decent. This is their best inn? Varkas mutters under his breath, unimpressed. I've seen goblins live better back home. Alex steps out of the carriage, adjusting his coat. Not everyone has the luxury of comparing everything to my city, Varkas. He smirks. Varkas exhales through his nose. Even empty, the inns back home would make this place look like a roadside tavern. With that, he strides toward the entrance, and Varkas follows. The lobby is spacious, with polished wooden floors and a grand chandelier hanging above. A few guests lounge in the seating area, and a well-dressed innkeeper stands behind the reception desk, offering a professional smile as they approach. Welcome, gentlemen. How may I assist you? Alex places a pouch of gold on the counter. A private suite.
No disturbances.
The innkeeper's eyes flicker to the gold, and his smile widens. Of course, right this way. The room is spacious, with elegant furnishings and 2 large beds covered in dark red linens. A small table sits in the center, complete with a fruit platter and a bottle of wine. The decor is impressive by Eldoria's standards, but Varkas still scoffs as he steps inside. A servant soon arrives, bringing their meals: roasted lamb, fresh bread, and a hearty vegetable stew. They eat in silence, savoring the meal before Alex finally stands. "Now we're going to the auction house," Alex says, adjusting his coat. Varkas wipes his mouth with a napkin and immediately stands. "Understood, Your Majesty." Without further delay, they leave the inn, making their way through the bustling streets of Eldoria. The auction house is a grand structure near the city center, its entrance lined with torches and banners displaying the crest of a noble family. A steady flow of well-dressed individuals enters, their carriages lining the nearby streets. As Alex and Varkas approach, a guard steps forward, blocking their path with a firm hand. He eyes them critically before speaking. 5,000 gold coins. Only those who have 5,000 gold coins can participate. Alex doesn't even blink. Instead, he tilts his head slightly. "I want to see the owner of this auction house. I have something to auction." The guard frowns but doesn't immediately refuse. He glances toward the nearby receptionist, a young woman dressed in formal attire, who quickly approaches. "Sir," she says hesitantly, "the auction is about to start. I don't think they'll take any more items for tonight's event." Alex exhales softly, his voice lowering. "That's too bad. I was planning to auction some skill books." The air around them seems to shift. The receptionist's eyes widen in shock, her breath catching for a moment. "Skill books?" she repeats, her voice barely above a whisper. Even the guard straightens slightly, his expression no longer indifferent. In Eldoria, skill books are incredibly rare, so rare that even a Tier 1 skill could easily fetch thousands of gold coins at auction. The receptionist quickly regains her composure, forcing a polite smile. "Please come in, sir." She gestures for them to follow, personally leading them inside. Instead of seating them in the general hall, she directs them to a private VIP room. The chamber is elegantly decorated, with plush seating and a clear view of the auction stage below. "Please wait here, sir," the receptionist says, bowing slightly. "I will inform my employer immediately." Shortly after, an elderly man enters the VIP room. He walks with a composed grace, his neatly trimmed silver beard and sharp, intelligent eyes giving off the air of a seasoned businessman. Dressed in a dark embroidered robe, he exudes the quiet authority of someone who has spent decades in the auction trade. "Good evening, sir." His voice is smooth, practiced. "My name is Edmar Volstorn, the head of this auction house. I was informed that you wish to auction some skill books." Alex, seated comfortably, offers a slight nod. Straight to the point. "I like that," he says, setting down a small wooden box on the table. "I have 3 Tier 1 skill books here, as well as 2 Tier 2, 1 skill and 1 spell." Chapter 53. A young Legomian. "Tier 2, and a spell?" he echoes, barely able to mask his surprise. His gaze flickers to Alex and then to Varkas, standing silently beside him. In his mind, he quickly tries to assess them. This young man, no ordinary merchant could casually bring such treasures. He must be the son of a noble. The Ordea kingdom, perhaps. Maintaining his professional composure, Edmar clears his throat and smiles. "Sir, we will gladly add these to tonight's auction. In fact, the Tier 2 skill and spell will be placed as the grand finale. Their value will undoubtedly attract fierce competition." Alex smirks slightly. "That's what I'm counting on." Edmar inclines his head. "I will personally ensure they are presented at the perfect moment. As for your compensation, we take a 10% cut from the final bid price. Is that acceptable?" Alex waves a hand dismissively. "Fine by me." "Excellent." Edmar claps his hands together. The auction will begin shortly. Please, enjoy the privileges of the VIP room while you watch. With that, he departs, leaving Alex and Varkas alone. Varkas leans in slightly. They'll be desperate to get their hands on those books. Alex chuckles. Exactly. Let's see how much these nobles are willing to pay for power. The auction finally begins. A well-dressed auctioneer steps onto the grand stage, his voice clear and commanding as he welcomes the guests. The hall is filled with nobles, merchants, and wealthy adventurers, all waiting eagerly for the bidding to commence. The first item of the night, the auctioneer announces, is a finely crafted silver dagger, imbued with minor enchantments for durability and sharpness. A fine weapon for any noble's collection or an adventurer in need of reliability. Starting bid, 500 gold coins. Back and forth, the dagger is sold for 800 gold. Alex watches from the VIP room, unimpressed. He takes a sip of the wine provided and glances at Varkas. A basic enchanted dagger, barely worth noticing. Varkas nods slightly. If this is how they're starting, I can only imagine how desperate they'll be once the real treasures come out. The auction continues. A set of high-quality armor, a decorative gemstone necklace, and a few minor enchanted trinkets are brought forward, each selling for anywhere between 500 to 1,000 gold coins. Some items garner more attention, pushing past 2,000, but nothing causes much of a stir. Varka's arms crossed. So far, nothing remarkable. Suddenly, the next auction item makes both of them squint slightly. The atmosphere in the hall shifts as a large, covered cage is wheeled onto the stage. When the cloth is pulled away, a small figure is revealed. A young humanoid monster, her ears drooping as she curls up in the corner, eyes filled with fear. Alex immediately glances at Varkas. His jaw is clenched tight, his fists curled into shaking balls of rage. The sheer pressure of his aura thickens the air around them, a silent storm of fury barely restrained. Alex's voice is calm but firm. You need to calm down, Varkas. You're not restraining your aura. Varkas inhales sharply, his breathing heavy, before closing his eyes. With a slow exhale, the pressure in the room fades. He bows his head slightly. I'm sorry, Your Majesty. Please punish me for my lack of control. Alex sighs. No need. His gaze shifts back to the auction floor, locking onto the trembling child. The auctioneer clears his throat. A rare find indeed. A young Legomian, strong, fast, and highly trainable. Perfect servant or pet. Starting bid, 1,000 gold coins. Murmurs spread through the crowd, some intrigued, others indifferent. A few nobles lean forward, considering their bids. Alex's expression darkens slightly. Then, in a quiet voice he says, Don't worry, I will bid for her. The bidding starts immediately, nobles in the general seating raising their paddles without hesitation. 1,000 gold. 1,500. 2,000. The price climbs steadily, reaching 5,000 gold coins in a matter of minutes. By this point, only the VIP guests are still bidding. 5,500. A voice calls from another private room. 6,000. Another counters. Alex calmly raises his paddle. 7,000. A hush spreads through the hall as the auctioneer's gaze flickers toward the VIP rooms. We have a bid of 7,000 from one of our esteemed guests. Do we have 8,000? A moment of hesitation, then, 8,000. Alex smirks slightly. 9,000. The whispers among the nobles grow louder. Who in the VIP room is bidding? Why would anyone spend this much on a mere monster slave? Even the auctioneer looks surprised. This shouldn't be this expensive. Then, 10,000. The hall falls silent. The auctioneer wipes his brow, his voice a little strained. 10,000 gold. Do we have any further bids? The room stays quiet. Going once, going twice. Sold. To our esteemed guest in the VIP room. Alex leans back, watching as the cage is wheeled away. His gaze flickers toward Varkas, who is still standing stiffly. See? Now she's ours. Shortly after, A knock echoes at the VIP room door. The auction house receptionist enters, accompanied by 2 guards carrying the young Lagomian girl, her ears twitching anxiously as they set the cage down. The receptionist steps forward, holding out a small, metallic bracelet with glowing runes. Your purchase, sir. This is a standard control item for slaves. Simply wear it, and with a command you can issue direct orders. The slave will be unable to disobey. Alex stares at the bracelet for a moment before reaching out and taking it. His expression remains unreadable as he pockets it without a word. The receptionist hesitates briefly but then bows. Enjoy your acquisition, sir. With a final nod, the staff leaves, shutting the door behind them. Silence lingers in the room. The only sound is the faint breathing of the child. Slowly, she lifts her head, her bright eyes filled with wariness and fear. Despite the trembling in her small frame, she forces herself to kneel properly, her ears flattened against her head. Chapter 54. The Nobles Fighting for Scraps. I greet my new master, she says softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex watches her for a moment before speaking. Child, what is your name? She hesitates, as if unsure if she's allowed to answer. Then, after a moment, she swallows and whispers, Liz. Alex nods. Be at ease, Liz. You don't have to kneel. The girl flinches slightly but obeys, shifting uncomfortably as she looks up at him. Alex then turns to Varkas. Drop the disguise. Varkas nods, and in the next moment, both of their appearances shift. The illusion fades, revealing Alex's features. His sharp face, pale skin, fierce eyes, and faint scales along his arms. Varkas, too, lets his true form emerge, his monstrous features stark and intimidating. Liz's breath catches. Her red eyes widen in disbelief. Then, the weight of everything crashes down on her. Her body shakes violently as she stares at them, tears spilling from her eyes. Sir, please, help me, she cries, her voice cracking. I don't want to go back to the humans. Please, I'll do anything. Alex kneels down, keeping his voice steady. Calm down, Liz. We are going to help you. Liz's breath catches. Her small body tenses before her expression crumbles. Tears well up in her eyes, her voice desperate. Also, save him. You have to save him. Alex's gaze sharpens. Who? My big brother, she sobs, her tiny hands clutching the bars. They took him too. He's a slave to a noble. Please, I'll do anything. Just save him. Alex's expression remains calm, but his eyes darken slightly. He turns to Varkas, who is already looking at him, awaiting orders. Calm her down, Alex says quietly. Varkas steps forward, kneeling beside the cage. His voice, usually cold, softens just slightly. I will, Your Majesty. And thank you. Then he turns his gaze to Liz. Alex understands the weight behind those words. He knows what Varkas is feeling. This moment is far too familiar for him. In the game, Varkas once had a daughter. She had been captured, enslaved by humans, and ultimately killed. It was that tragedy that fueled his hatred toward those who enslaved monsters. Now, he had a chance to save at least one child. Liz sniffles, but she looks at him with wide eyes. You'll save him? Varkas gives a firm nod. We will. Varkas pat her head, his eyes locked onto Liz's. After this auction, we will save your big brother. I promise you that. Liz stares at him, searching for any sign of falsehood, but all she finds is unwavering resolve. A shaky breath escapes her lips, and the tension in her small body finally eases. Okay, she whispers, wiping at her damp cheeks. Alex, watching the exchange, smiled and said, Good. Now let's focus. The auctioneer's voice booms across the hall, bringing the crowd's attention back to the stage. And now, we present what was meant to be tonight's grand finale. A rare artifact from an ancient ruin. Behold, the Crimson Moon Pendant. With a dramatic flourish, an attendant unveils a beautiful necklace with a deep red gemstone at its center, swirling with faint magical energy. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. A mana-amplifying relic? I heard it boosts fire spells immensely. A treasure like that is priceless. Alex, however, remains unimpressed. Compared to the skill books he provided, this item is minor. The bidding begins, and as expected, the nobles go wild. The price climbs rapidly, 3,000, 10,000, 20,000 gold in mere moments. Alex leans back, swirling the wine in his glass as the numbers climb. The nobles are desperate, their voices growing louder with each bid. But he already knows this is nothing compared to what's coming next. Varkas watches the stage with mild disinterest. They're fighting over scraps. Alex smirks. Let them. The real show is about to begin. The Crimson Moon pendant is finally sold for 35,000 gold, and the auctioneer claps his hands together. Ladies and gentlemen, what an incredible bid. But tonight is far from over. A murmur spreads through the hall. The auction was supposed to be finished. What else could they possibly have? The auctioneer grins, letting the anticipation build before dramatically gesturing to his assistants. We have an exclusive addition to tonight's event. Something so rare, so extraordinary, that it will surely shake the very foundations of power in this room. The tension thickens. With a theatrical motion, the auctioneer unveils a velvet-covered stand. On it, 3 books rest, their covers glowing faintly with enchantment. Behold, 3 Tier 1 skill books. This isn't a joke, is it? Where did they get such a thing? The auctioneer laughs, raising a hand for silence. Ladies and gentlemen, please. The starting bid is set at 50,000 gold per book. Nobles immediately begin barking orders at their subordinates. Go! Get more gold now! Find the treasurer. Tell him to prepare everything. I don't care what it takes. I need that book. The bidding starts instantly. 55,000. 60,000. 70,000. The numbers climb at a dizzying pace. Some nobles throw in bids without hesitation, while others grit their teeth, weighing their options. The sheer rarity of skill books pushes them to their limits. 100,000. Gasps ripple through the crowd. The tension is thick, but the frenzy doesn't stop. 110,000. 120. The nobles glare at each other, beads of sweat forming on their brows. Some have already backed down, their wealth unable to compete. But a few are still in the fight, their gazes burning with greed. 140,000. The room holds its breath. Silence lingers until one last voice cuts through. 150,000. The hall erupts in murmurs. No one dares to bid higher. That price for a single Tier 1 skill book is already absurd. The auctioneer lets the silence stretch before slamming his gavel down. Sold. For 150,000 gold. Cheers and sighs fill the air. Some thrilled, others bitter with defeat. Alex watches it all unfold, a smirk tugging at his lips. And that is just Tier 1. Chapter 55. Tier 2 Spell, Infernal Surge. The other 2 books are sold quickly, though the intensity of the bidding has slightly diminished. 105,000. 110. 112,000 going once, going twice sold. The final bid barely crosses 100,000, as some nobles have exhausted their resources. Despite this, their expressions remain a mix of excitement and frustration. Skill books are invaluable, and even Tier 1 holds immense worth. The auctioneer, still riding the energy of the last bids, grins as he gestures toward his assistants once more. And now for something even greater, a treasure of higher caliber, Tier 2 skills. The room buzzes again, anticipation crackling in the air. 2 more books are brought onto the stage, their covers glowing with a stronger enchantment than the previous ones. Behold, a Tier 2 combat skill, Phantom Edge. A technique that allows the wielder to unleash afterimage strikes, overwhelming opponents with sheer speed. Gasps fill the room. And if that wasn't enough, a Tier 2 spell, Infernal Surge. A devastating fire spell capable of engulfing an entire battlefield in flames. The nobles practically vibrate with excitement. This is beyond rare. A Tier 2 spell. If we had this, our mages could rival entire armies. But before the auction can begin, a sudden commotion at the entrance halts everything. The crowd turns as the doors swing open. A man clad in elegant yet subtly reinforced attire strides in, flanked by 2 armored guards. His presence alone is enough to send whispers rippling through the hall. The royal family sent a representative? What is the meaning of this? Alex watches with mild amusement as the auctioneer hurriedly bows, his voice respectful but eager. "Ah, Lord Viren, what an honor to have you join us." Viren, a middle-aged noble with sharp eyes and a calculating expression, nods once. "I was told that skill books are being auctioned here. The royal family wishes to partake." A hush falls over the room. Some nobles exchange nervous glances. Competing against other nobles is one thing, but against the royal family's wealth? That's an entirely different game. The auctioneer quickly composes himself. "Of course, my lord. You arrived at the perfect time. A Tier 2 combat skill and spell are now available for bidding." Viren steps forward, his gaze briefly scanning the books before settling onto the auctioneer. "Then let us begin. The royal treasury is ready to claim what belongs at the top." The auctioneer, his smile unwavering, quickly gestures to a nearby attendant. "Please, escort Lord Viren to a vacant VIP room." A well-dressed servant bows and swiftly leads Viren and his guards toward an elevated seating area, draped in fine silk and positioned for an optimal view of the stage. The murmurs in the crowd persist, but no one dares openly question the royal family's presence. Once Viren is settled, the auctioneer clears his throat. "Now then, without further delay, let us resume the auction." He turns back to the crowd, his enthusiasm never faltering. "We shall begin with the Tier 2 combat skill, Phantom Edge. The starting bid is set at 100,000 gold. A noble from the front row immediately raises his fan. 110,000. The competition heats up quickly. Unlike the previous Tier 1 books, there is no hesitation this time. A combat skill of this level could change the fate of a duelist, a knight, even an entire family's standing. Alex watches with a hint of amusement. The nobles are desperate. Some grip their chairs tightly, their knuckles white as they consider their bids. 200,000. Gasps ripple through the crowd. The bidder, an older noble with silver hair, straightens his posture as if daring anyone to challenge him. But Viren merely chuckles from his VIP seat. He raises a single hand. 250,000. Silence follows. The weight of the royal treasury is undeniable. Even the boldest nobles hesitate. A younger lord, sweat forming at his brow, grits his teeth. 270. Viren barely reacts. He raises his hand again, his voice calm and measured. 300,000. The hall goes dead silent. No one speaks. No one moves. The auctioneer, sensing no further bids, smiles broadly. 300,000 going once. Going twice sold. The Tier 2 skill book, Phantom Edge, now belongs to the royal family. A round of polite applause follows, though the tension in the room remains thick. Viren reclines slightly, pleased but unsurprised. He had expected no real opposition. The auctioneer claps his hands. And now, the next item, perhaps even more sought after than the last. The Tier 2 spell, Infernal Surge. Unlike before, there is no pause. The moment the bidding opens, the nobles erupt. 150,000. 200,000. 250,000. It is a battlefield of voices, each noble more desperate than the last. A powerful spell like Infernal Surge could change the tide of wars, dominate battlefields, and cement a family's influence for generations. Alex swirls his wine, his golden eyes watching the chaos unfold. A group of nobles in one of the VIP room turn toward each other. "Work together," one whispers. "If we combine our resources, we can outbid him." Several of them nod in agreement. Moments later, one of them, An older noble with a deep purple cloak raises his hand. 350,000. The hall gasps. Even Viren raises an eyebrow at the unexpected resistance. The nobles who joined forces watch him carefully, their expressions tense. If they win, they will split the spell among their houses, a temporary alliance for an unmatched power. For a brief moment it seems possible. But then Viren said, 400,000. A heavy silence follows Viren's bid. The nobles who had allied together glance at each other, their confidence wavering. Some grip their chairs tightly, others shift uncomfortably in place. Then, an older noble in a regal navy blue coat lets out a weary sigh. He slowly rises from his seat, his stern gaze sweeping over the room before settling on the younger lords who had dared to challenge Viren. All of you should stop now. His voice is calm yet carries the weight of experience. Even if you pool all your resources together, you won't be able to secure it. This isn't the time for us to anger the royal family. Chapter 56. Nikon. The gathered nobles exchange hesitant looks, reluctant but understanding. The old noble's expression hardens. The royal family is desperate right now, especially after what happened to Mizorn City. They're already on edge, and if we push them further, it won't end well for us. His voice lowers, a warning laced within. We don't want our plans to be ruined over a single spell book. Several nobles flinch at the mention of Mizorn. The situation there is volatile, and the royal family's grip on power is not as secure as it once was. Testing their patience now could have dire consequences. Seeing that the nobles didn't bid anymore, Viren said with an amused smirk. Smart choice, he says lazily. Then, turning back to the auctioneer, he gestures dismissively. Shall we proceed? The auctioneer, sensing no further bids, clears his throat. 400,000 going once, going twice sold. The Tier 2 spellbook, Infernal Surge, now belongs to the royal family. Polite applause follows, but the air is heavy with subdued tension. Some nobles cast bitter glances toward Viren, while others sit in silence, resigned to their loss. In the VIP room above, Alex leans back in his chair, swirling his wine with mild amusement. He watches the defeated nobles, their brief unity dissolving into quiet frustration. Too bad, he murmurs, his eyes flickering with interest. The nobles stopped fighting for it. As the hall begins to settle, another figure approaches the VIP section. An older man, dressed in fine robes embroidered with the insignia of the auction house. His posture is straight, his steps measured, and his sharp eyes reveal the mind of a seasoned merchant. Alex recognizes him immediately. This is the owner of the auction house, the one who personally sought him out after hearing that skill books would be auctioned. The man stops before Alex's table, offering a polite but knowing smile. Lord Alex, I trust the auction went as expected? His voice is smooth, the tone of a man accustomed to high-stakes dealings. Alex studies him for a moment before giving a slight nod. Better than expected. The auction house owner chuckles, his gaze flicking toward the heavy pouch Alex received moments ago. That much is clear. Few would dare to part with such rare goods, let alone multiple skill books. It seems you have a rather unique source. Alex merely swirls his wine, his expression unreadable. A businessman shouldn't question where his merchandise comes from, only whether it sells. The older man's smile widens slightly. A fair point. He gestures to the bustling hall below. Your offerings have caused quite a stir among the noble circles. I imagine there will be no shortage of interested buyers should you decide to auction again. Alex leans back, his golden eyes glinting with amusement. If the price is right. The auction house owner chuckles again, clearly pleased. Naturally. He then reaches into his sleeve and withdraws a small, intricately designed token. A mark of priority. If you ever wish to auction more goods, present this at the entrance. You will be given the highest level of service. Alex takes the token, running a thumb over the fine engravings. A simple but useful gesture. The old man inclines his head, I look forward to our future dealings, Lord Alex. Alex pockets the token without a word, rising from his seat. Varkas, ever the disciplined warrior, falls in step beside him, his posture straight and unwavering, fully embracing his role as a knight. Lys, however, keeps glancing between Alex and Varkas, her expression tense as if she wants to speak but hesitates. Her small hands clutch at the hem of her worn cloak, her brows furrowed in deep thought. Varkas notices and, without breaking stride, chuckles softly. "Don't worry," he says, his voice unusually gentle. "Once we reach the inn, you'll be surprised." His tone reassures her, but it only makes her more restless. She fidgets as they weave through the streets, her anxious energy almost palpable. By the time they arrive at the inn, Lys barely manages to hold herself together. But the moment she steps inside and her eyes land on a familiar figure, all restraint shatters. "Be big brother!" she cries, her voice breaking. The boy, barely 15 but already carrying himself with the quiet wariness of someone forced to grow up too soon, turns sharply at her voice. His dark eyes widen in shock as Lys rushes forward and throws herself at him, clutching his tunic tightly. "Big brother, why are you here?" she sobs. "What about that old noble?" Nikon instinctively wraps his arms around her, his expression softening. He ruffles her hair, but his gaze quickly sharpens when he notices the two figures standing behind her. Alex and Varkas, their human disguises still in place. His grip on Lys tightens. "Who are they?" he demands, his voice cautious. "Why are you with them?" Lys, still sniffling, glances back at Alex and Varkas. She opens her mouth, but before she can explain, Varkas sighs. "Relax, kid," he says, a bit amused. Then, with a casual wave of his hand, his disguise vanishes. His true form, a towering, armored beast of war, emerges in full view. Alex follows suit, his eyes gleaming with faint amusement as his human illusion dissipates, revealing his true, monstrous presence. Nikon's entire body tenses for a split second. But then, he exhales, his shoulders sagging in sheer relief. "Oh, thank the ancestors," he mutters, rubbing his face. Lys pulls away slightly, wiping her teary eyes before looking up at her brother. "Big brother, how did you escape your master?" Nikon's expression darkens slightly, but he shakes his head. "I didn't escape." His voice lowers. "It was those monsters, the ones that look like shadows. They killed all the guards in the mansion and took me with them." Varkas folds his arms, nodding. "Kid, you should be thanking His Majesty." He gestures toward Alex. "Those monsters are his subordinates." Nikon's eyes widen slightly as he turns to Alex, his posture stiffening. He hesitates before bowing his head. "Thank you, Your Majesty." He swallows hard before asking, "Are you our new master?" Chapter 57. Noctaris City. Alex chuckles, shaking his head. "Not a new master." His golden eyes glimmer with something unreadable. "Starting today, you're no longer slaves. You're already citizens of my kingdom." Lys gasps, her small hands clutching at her chest. "Sir, are you really a king?" she asks, her voice hushed with shock. She hesitates before adding in a quieter voice, "I thought you just liked being called Your Majesty." Varkas lets out a deep laugh, while Alex merely smirks. "I don't need to pretend," he says smoothly. "You'll understand soon enough." Nikon hesitates before nodding slowly. "Your Majesty, thank you for not seeing us as slaves," he says, his voice steady but laced with uncertainty. "But as long as we have the slave mark, we will always be servants." Alex's gaze sharpens. "Come here. Let me take a look." Nikon glances at Lys, who gives him an encouraging nod. Taking a deep breath, he steps forward and tilts his head slightly, exposing the slave mark on his neck. The intricate black seal pulses faintly, a constant reminder of his status. Alex examines it closely, his eyes narrowing. Without hesitation, he raises a hand and channels a Tier 4 dispelling spell. A faint golden light envelopes the mark, But the moment the spell touches it, the light flickers and shatters like fragile glass. Nothing changes. Alex exhales through his nose, his expression unreadable. That's interesting. Nikon stiffens. Your Majesty? Alex pulls back, tapping a finger against his arm in thought. As a player, he isn't restricted by class limitations. He can use any skill or spell as long as he meets the stat requirements. And his jack-of-all-trades build gives him access to a vast range of abilities. But this means the slave mark isn't something a standard dispel can remove. He meets Nikon's wary gaze and offers a calm smile. I'll dispel it once we reach my home. Liz visibly brightens, hope flickering in her eyes. Nikon, however, remains skeptical. He doesn't doubt Alex's power. The man radiates an overwhelming presence. But he knows how strong the slave mark's binding magic is. Still, he doesn't argue. Nikon looks skeptical but doesn't voice his doubt. Instead, he nods. Understood. Liz, however, clings to his sleeve. Really? She whispers, almost afraid to hope. Alex just smirks. I don't make empty promises. After a brief pause, he glances at Varkas. Change of plans. We're leaving now. I've already done what I came here for. Varkas nods without question. I'll prepare the carriage. Alex glances around the dimly lit inn. I came here for the auction. Now that it's done, there's no reason to stay. Nikon exchanges a glance with Liz before straightening his back. Then, we'll follow you. Alex's smirk deepens. Of course you will. Once they are far enough from the city, Alex steps out of the carriage and places a hand on its side. A faint pulse of magic ripples outward, and in an instant, the entire carriage begins to shift. The sturdy wooden wheels retract, the frame expands slightly, and shimmering golden runes light up along its edges. Then, with a soft hum, the carriage lifts off the ground. Liz gasps, clutching Nikon's arm as the entire vehicle rises smoothly into the air. Nikon's eyes widen, his grip tightening on the seat. He has seen many things in his life, but a flying carriage? This is beyond anything he ever imagined. As the carriage gains altitude, the transformation completes. The interior expands far beyond what should be possible, turning into a spacious, luxurious chamber. Plush seats, polished wooden panels, and a massive crystal-clear window stretching across one side offer an unobstructed view of the sky. Liz practically presses her face against the window, her tail flicking excitedly. Wow! Your Majesty, are you some kind of god? She blurts out, eyes gleaming with awe. Alex laughs, shaking his head. I'm not a god. I'm just like you. Nikon stares at him, deadpan. A normal monster? He silently glances around the lavish flying carriage before looking back at Alex. Normal monster, my ass. He doesn't voice his thoughts, but deep down, he knows this is no ordinary being. Even the most powerful nobles of the Ralthian kingdom couldn't compare. If they were kings in their own right, then in front of Alex they were nothing more than commoners. The carriage soars through the sky, crossing vast landscapes in mere hours. Forests, rivers, and mountains blur beneath them, and the air itself feels different, purer, more alive. Then, just as the sun begins to dip below the horizon, they see it. A city unlike any other. Towering black walls stretch endlessly, adorned with massive golden banners that shimmer in the fading sunlight. A vast network of bridges and spires rises above the grand cityscape, seamlessly blending ancient architecture with modern advancements. Floating platforms drift lazily in the air, powered by unseen forces. At the heart of it all stands an enormous palace, its dark obsidian-like structure crowned with glowing runes that pulse with power. Alex leans forward slightly, his golden eyes reflecting the breathtaking sight. Welcome, he says, his voice carrying a quiet pride. This is Noctaris, the capital of my kingdom. Liz grips Nikon's arm even tighter. It's beautiful. She breathes, unable to tear her eyes away. Nikon swallows, still trying to process everything. Your Majesty, may I know the name of your kingdom? He asks hesitantly. Alex smirks. Erevaris. The eternal sovereignty. Silence fills the carriage as they take in the name. It carries weight, power, and an undeniable sense of grandeur. Nikon exhales slowly. So this is the power of a true king. Inside a dimly lit chamber deep within the palace, an eerie atmosphere lingers in the air. Strange contraptions line the walls, some glowing with unknown energy, others pulsing with dark magic. The room hums faintly, as if alive. Liz clings to Nikon's sleeve, her tail bristling. "I don't like this place," she whispers, eyes darting around. Varkas grimaces, folding his arms. "Your Majesty, is this Lord Magnus' domain?" Alex leans casually against a nearby table, unfazed. "It is." Chapter 58, Magnus. Varkas mutters under his breath, clearly uncomfortable. He rarely speaks about other subordinates unless they're exceptional, and in Alex's ranks only those above level 700 earn his acknowledgement. Magnus is one of them. A level 800 plus necromancer, Magnus is known for his relentless experimentation. It doesn't matter if it's a human, a unique monster, or any being with intelligence. If they interest him, he studies them. His methods are unconventional. Some would call them horrific. But to Alex, Magnus is one of his most valuable assets. It was normal for NPCs in games to have their own thoughts, to interact with players as if they were real. But Magnus took that concept further. His inventions played a critical role in Alex's victories against other players. Though, admittedly, some of those creations were rather twisted. The room is unnervingly silent. Though once bustling with strange undead assisting Magnus in his research, it now stands eerily empty. Dust coats the massive shelves of tomes, and the flickering green runes on the walls pulse weakly, like a heartbeat slowing to a stop. The absence of life, or rather unlife, is almost unsettling. Varkas exhales sharply. "Your Majesty, you're not planning to experiment on them, are you?" His tone is laced with hesitation, as if he's afraid of the answer. Alex snorts. "Do I look like a twisted person to you?" Varkas doesn't answer immediately. Alex narrows his eyes. "Really? That long of a pause?" Varkas clears his throat. "It's just, this is Lord Magnus we're talking about." "Exactly," Alex says smoothly. "And before his death, Magnus created a Tier 8 spell. One capable of destroying any contract, including slave marks. He should have stored it in a spellbound crystal somewhere in here." Nikon blinks. "A Tier 8 spell?" He isn't well versed in high-level magic, but even he knows that anything above Tier 4 is practically legendary in Ralthian Kingdom. Lissa's eyes dart around the room, taking in the eerie glow of the runes and the strange objects scattered across the tables. Some look like mechanical limbs fused with bones, others resemble glass containers filled with swirling, dark mist. Everything looks fragile and dangerous, but she doesn't reach out to touch anything, just in case. Nikon stands beside her, arms crossed. His brows furrow as he studies a suspended metal cage near the ceiling. "What even is all this?" he mutters under his breath. Liz tugs on his sleeve, her voice hushed. "It's so weird. Some of these things look alive." She shudders slightly, eyeing a severed hand encased in a glass tube. The fingers twitch every few seconds as if trying to grasp something. "Don't stare too long," Nikon warns. "You don't want to catch a curse." Liz squeaks and quickly looks away. Meanwhile, Alex and Varkas move deeper into the chamber. Varkas pulls open a heavy drawer, his movements careful but practiced. Inside, neatly stacked crystals glow with faint hues. Reds, blues, greens. But none match the signature dark violet of a spellbound crystal capable of holding Tier 8 magic. Varkas exhales sharply. "Nothing. Lord Magnus must have stored it somewhere more secure." Alex doesn't respond immediately. Instead, he steps toward a tall, black cabinet at the far end of the room. Unlike the rest of the furniture, it's free of dust, the runes lining its edges still pulsing with faint energy. Alex stops in front of the black cabinet, tilting his head slightly as he studies it. Then, as if recalling something, he chuckles. "Oh, I remember now." he says, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. Magnus did reveal to me his secret door and how to open it. Without further explanation, he presses his palm against a faintly glowing rune on the cabinet's surface. The moment his skin makes contact, a sharp pulse of energy surges through the air. A deep, mechanical click echoes through the chamber. Liz flinches at the sudden noise but doesn't say anything. Nikon, standing rigid beside her, watches silently, his fists clenched at his sides. The runes on the cabinet begin shifting, rearranging themselves in a slow, deliberate pattern. Then, with another resonating click, the entire back panel of the cabinet slides downward, revealing a hidden passage beyond. A narrow staircase spirals downward into darkness, an ominous green glow faintly illuminating the descent. Alex steps forward, peering down the spiraling staircase with an intrigued expression. The eerie green glow flickers against the stone walls, casting long shadows that dance with every small movement. "Let's go in," Alex says, his tone casual yet firm. Then he glances at Varkan. "Protect the children." Varkas straightens. "Yes, Your Majesty." Without hesitation, he moves behind Liz and Nikon, positioning himself to shield them from any potential danger. The children remain silent, watching everything with wide eyes but making no complaints. Alex leads the way down, his footsteps echoing in the confined space. As they descend, the air grows colder, tinged with the faint scent of magic and metal. When they finally step into the hidden chamber, Alex can't help but smirk. The room is vast, larger than expected, stretching far beyond what should be physically possible underground. The walls are lined with half-finished contraptions, glowing runes scribbled hastily onto parchments pinned to workbenches, and towering glass containers filled with suspended, incomplete experiments. Strange skeletal constructs, missing limbs or frozen in various stages of assembly, rest on heavy metal tables. Alex whistles, impressed. "Looks like Magnus was busy." Varkas scans the room, his expression filled with amazement. "What are these? I can feel a sense of dread from these items." Alex stepping toward a table where an unfinished automaton rests, its exposed core pulsing weakly. "But these are new." "Incomplete, yes, but still filled with potential," Varkas said. "So many of these creations, some of them are alive in a way that shouldn't be possible." Alex said, "Magnus was a genius. His work was always pushing boundaries, and all these unfinished pieces, they're a testament to his brilliance." He steps closer to an intricately designed creature, its limbs connected by thin strands of glowing energy, but it's motionless for now. "None of these are harmful. Not yet, at least, but they hold untapped potential. I can't wait to revive him and make him continue all these masterpieces." His voice drops, almost dreamily, as he gazes at the array of creations. Chapter 59. The slave mark is gone. Varkas glances at Alex, still uncomfortable with the surroundings, but trying to mask his concerns. "Lord Magnus is a gem in His Majesty's kingdom. His genius is unparalleled." Alex smirks, his eyes lighting up with anticipation. "Yes, he is, and I'm going to make sure he continues his work." He straightens up, his tone turning sharp and focused. "Now let's find that spellbound crystal. It has to be here somewhere." Varkas nods and begins scanning the room again, his sharp eyes sweeping across the various workstations and the strange array of creations. "If it's here, it's likely hidden in one of these more secure locations," he mutters, walking towards a stack of metal crates in the corner. Alex moves toward a high shelf where a few scrolls are tucked away, checking for any sign of the crystal. The soft hum of the room seems to grow louder with the anticipation of finding the coveted object. "I know it's here," Alex murmurs to himself, his fingers brushing over the ancient, leather-bound tomes. "Magnus wouldn't leave it just lying around." Varkas pauses, turning towards a large stone pedestal in the center of the room. Resting atop it is a dusty, ornate box, its intricate design unlike anything else in the chamber. He walks over slowly, every step measured as if expecting the box to react to his proximity. "I think this might be it," Varkas says, his voice steady but with a trace of uncertainty. He reaches out and carefully opens the box, revealing a single, pulsating crystal. Its dark violet glow stands in stark contrast to the dim green light around them. Alex's eyes lock onto the crystal as Varkas carefully lifts it from the box. The faint violet glow pulses rhythmically, as if responding to the energy in the room. He walks toward the center of the chamber, the crystal held delicately in his hands. Yes, this is it, Alex mutters, his voice sharp with anticipation. He turns to Lys and Nikon, who are still standing silently near Varkan, their eyes wide with curiosity and confusion. The atmosphere around them feels heavy, almost oppressive, as if the air itself is thick with the power contained within the crystal. Alex approaches them slowly, his expression steady but focused. Lys and Nikon, come close to me, he calls, his voice calm yet authoritative. Lys and Nikon exchange nervous glances before stepping forward. Lys hesitates for a moment, her eyes flicking nervously between Alex and the ominous glow of the crystal, but she follows Nikon without a word. Stand right there, Alex orders, pointing to a spot in front of him. He holds the crystal out in front of him, the dark violet light now casting eerie shadows on the walls. No matter what happens, don't move, don't speak, don't do anything. Just stand and trust me. Lys and Nikon stand where Alex directed them, their bodies tense with uncertainty. They glance at each other, but neither of them speaks. The air is thick with the weight of Alex's command, and the strange, pulsating glow of the spellbound crystal seems to draw them in. Do you understand? Alex asks, his tone more firm now. Nikon nods quickly, his heart racing. Yes, Your Majesty, he says, though there's a slight tremor in his voice. Lys simply gives a stiff nod, eyes darting nervously between the crystal and Alex. Alex smiles slightly, a reassuring but enigmatic look on his face. Good. Now stay still. He holds the crystal in both hands, his fingers wrapping around it carefully. The violet light intensifies, swirling in a mesmerizing pattern, and a faint hum fills the chamber. The temperature drops, and a shiver runs down Lys's spine as she feels the magic in the air. Alex raises the crystal slowly, bringing it closer to Lys and Nikon's necks, where the unmistakable mark of their former enslavement rests. Dark, twisted symbols burned into their flesh. The runes on the crystal begin to glow more brightly, responding to the presence of the slave marks. Alex murmurs softly under his breath, his eyes locked onto the marks on their necks. The room feels still, save for the eerie hum of the crystal and the rhythmic pulse of energy radiating from it. Hold your breath, Alex says quietly. Lys and Nikon exchange a glance, then instinctively close their eyes. With a final, fluid motion, Alex presses the crystal gently but firmly to the base of their necks. The crystal pulses once, twice, and then a sharp crack echoes through the room. It sounds like glass shattering, loud, sudden, and almost violent. Lys gasps, her fingers instinctively reaching for her neck. But there's no pain, only a strange, overwhelming sensation of release, as though something oppressive has been ripped away. The mark on her skin, once a twisted black symbol of her binding, shatters like glass, leaving behind only smooth, unblemished flesh. The same happens to Nikon, his mark breaking away as if it was never there to begin with. The air feels lighter now, the oppressive weight lifting from them both. Lys lets out a shaky breath, her eyes wide as she looks at Alex. Is it gone? She asks, her voice barely above a whisper, still in disbelief. Alex nods slowly, a rare moment of satisfaction crossing his face. It's gone. You're free. Lys and Nikon stare at Alex, their expressions a mixture of awe and disbelief. The weight they had carried for so long, the branding of slavery, is gone. Truly gone. A second passes before the realization fully sinks in, and then, as if their legs can no longer hold them, both children kneel on the cold stone floor. Nikon bows his head deeply. Thank you for giving us this freedom, Your Majesty. His voice is steady, but there's raw emotion beneath it. Lys follows his lead, her small hands clenching into fists as she tries to suppress the tears welling up in her eyes. She wants to say something, but the lump in her throat keeps her silent. Chapter 60. Getting Adopted. Alex crosses his arms, gazing down at them with an unreadable expression. Don't mention it. His voice is calm, yet there's a weight to it. His gaze softens slightly as he tilts his head. So what are you two going to do now? Do you know where your tribes are located? Lissa's head snaps up, her expression suddenly clouding. The question strikes deep, and the joy of freedom is quickly overshadowed by a painful memory. She lowers her gaze again, her voice barely above a whisper. We don't know. The humans attacked our home. They either kidnapped or killed our people. We were separated from everyone when they took us away. Nikon's jaw tightens. That's how we became slaves. The ones they didn't kill, they sold. His fists clench at his sides, a flicker of anger flashing in his usually composed expression. A heavy silence falls over the room. Even Varkas, who had been standing quietly at Alex's side, exhales sharply. His eyes darken with something unspoken. Then suddenly he steps forward. Your Majesty, he says, his voice firm. I want to adopt these two. Liss and Nikon freeze. Alex blinks, then throws his head back with a short, amused laugh. Varkas, don't ask me. He gestures toward the children with a smirk. Ask them if they want to. I know I can't replace your family, he says, his voice quieter now, more personal. But I can give you a home, protection, and a future where you don't have to worry about being taken again. He looks between them, his golden eyes unwavering. If you want that, I'll take responsibility for you both. Liss and Nikon exchange glances. It's not an easy decision. Their families, their tribes, if any of them survived, they should be searching for them. But the painful truth is that they don't know where to begin. They don't even know if their people are still alive. Nikon takes a deep breath, his fists still clenched. His whole life, he has dreamed of finding his people, of avenging those who were taken and protecting what little he has left. His sister. He looks up at Varkan, his golden eyes searching for something. Maybe reassurance, maybe certainty. Will you teach me? Nikon asks, his voice quieter now but still firm. If I become your son, will you make me strong enough to never lose again? Varkas's expression doesn't change, but there's something different in his gaze. He steps forward, placing a heavy hand on Nikon's shoulder. I will. But strength isn't just about swinging a sword or taking revenge. If you choose this path, you'll train until your bones ache, until you're exhausted beyond belief. You'll learn discipline, patience, and control. Strength is nothing without the wisdom to wield it. Nikon hesitates for only a moment before nodding. I understand. I'll do it. Then, almost shyly, he adds, Father. Liss gasps softly, her eyes darting between Nikon and Varkan. For a second, Varkan seems frozen. Then he exhales through his nose, shaking his head with a quiet chuckle. Then prepare yourself, boy. You've just chosen the hardest path of all. Nikon turns to Liss, his expression softer now. Little sister, do you not want to get adopted? His voice is gentle, but there's a hint of concern beneath it. Liss looks down at her hands, twisting her fingers together. For a moment, she stays quiet, her small brows furrowed in thought. Then, she peeks up at Nikon before glancing toward Varkan. Her voice comes out small, almost hesitant. Of course, I want to have a father. She shifts on her feet, her cheeks turning slightly pink as she adds, I just never thought I would. Varkas watches her carefully, his golden eyes unreadable. Then, with a sigh, he kneels before her, lowering himself to her level. Then from today onward, you have one. His tone is firm but not unkind. No one will take you away again. Lissa's eyes widen. Her lips press together as if holding back tears. Then slowly she nods. Okay, Father. A small, warm smile tugs at Varkan's lips, barely noticeable. He reaches out and ruffles her hair, making her scrunch up her nose in protest. Alex, watching the exchange, shakes his head with a smirk. Well, that's settled, then. Varkan, you've got 2 new kids. Try not to scare them off with your strict training on the first day. Lis giggles softly, while Nikon exhales, his tense posture finally easing. Alex glances at them once more before nodding toward Varkan. You can go now. Get them settled in. Familiarize them with your home. Varkas places a hand on each of their shoulders, giving a small nod of gratitude. Understood.